Here in Queensland, the biggest challenge is that the growers don't have a marketplace for a large amount of the produce that they grow. They don't have somewhere for the waste to be processed, they can't get the seconds processed, and so they're competing against each other in the same small market, and it's not profitable. We're competing against massive imports of cheap substitute products, and so the biggest problem is we're growing crops with no market to process, to turn them into powder, juice, canned or other forms of frozen fruit and vegetable. So we're all in the same market for the fresh product and we're not making the profit we want to make. So Lockyer Valley Foods is the trading name of the unlisted public company that we've established to fund this $240 to $400 million project. And the history basically is that the largest can-making producer in Queensland departed our shores in 2011 and went to New Zealand. In the process, they effectively decimated the beetroot growing industry in the Lockyer Valley, and over time, other segments of the industry, particularly the pineapple growers up on the Sunshine Coast, have lost market share and they have nowhere to process their goods. So we started this project basically by campaigning against the company that left. We raised some money. We funded a feasibility study conducted by a really good consultant based out in Toowoomba, and it came back and said, look, the only way you'll succeed in the future is economies of scale, technology, and making sure that your product is better than everybody else's. We're going to make it better than everybody else by having completed a worldwide search for the best technology, for the most innovative methodology, environmental control. So the first thing we did is we asked ourselves, are we cleaners or processors of fruit and vegetable? The significance of that is that in this industry, in the processing sector, 100% cleanliness of your line is critical. So we solved problems like that before we even started planning. So now we won't have any soil going into our factory complex, and we have a cleaning methodology based on technology. We don't have to close down for a shift. We don't have to have workers running around with mops and buckets. So it's all about technology and doing it right. We've also come up with better ways to ensure delivery. At the moment, if you were a grower of, say, beetroot or pineapple, you delivered it to Northgate in Brisbane when they told you, and it would sit on a big concrete slab for 2 or 3 weeks. So we'll be able to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, because our receiving technology for fruit and vegetables fully automated. We think we can turn a truck round in as little as 7 minutes. In terms of giving support to the fruit and vegetable growers in the Lockyer Valley, the Darling Downs, the Fassy Fern, Somerset and up on the Sunshine Coast, and even as far away as Bundaberg, is by buying their product and buying 100% of that product, giving them 5 by 5 year supply contracts, they don't have that now, negotiating the price with the true meaning of the word negotiation, so sharing the profit with our growers and making sure that they can sell everything. So we're establishing a waste processing facility, we're off-grid, we're recycling all our water, and to do that we need 100% of the resource that we buy from the growers and farmers. So stage 1 of our project is what we call the frozen line, and we'll be taking product, beetroot, beans, corn, whatever it is we need, in our first full year, roughly valued at about 45 million Australian dollars. That's what we'll be paying out to the farmers and growers for their product. And the reason we're doing the frozen line first is the largest fruit and vegetable product brought into this country now is the sorts of vegetables in particular that we grow in the Lockyer Valley. You can buy Chinese vegetables at the moment. You can buy English-produced vegetables, New Zealand-produced beetroot, South Africa, you name another country in the world, the United States. So the greatest worry to me is that we don't utilise the product that's available. We can grow 10 times the volume of fruit and vegetables in the valley, particularly tomatoes, for example, and beetroot. And we're not utilising it because there's no processing facility. This means the farmers don't have a long-term outlook. Their kids are not that interested. They want to go into the big smoke where there are jobs they can get. And security, food security, not only for Australia, but for farmers and growers is critical. and a food processing facility is the #1 objective. Indeed, the federal government has identified under the $500 million it's announced for agriculture that the type of thing it wants to fund is a food processing facility. Bingo, that's us. So our planning process assumes that we've got to be 100% perfect. That means recycling the water, getting off the power grid, making sure that we use all of the product that we purchase, including the waste. For example, we'll turn the waste into a soil rejuvenator, which will be able to go back onto the land. We're making sure that what the growers grow in every form, we can process profitably for them and because the Australian community want it. We're making sure that not only local farmers and growers become more profitable and have a reason to stay in the industry because they're 100% environmentally responsible and they're producing a product that gives food security to Australia and guarantees that the product you want to buy is made to perfection at this site using the best technology and the best skills we can get and a workforce that will be drawn from the Toowoomba and Lockyer Valley region. And our goal is to utilise local people, about 125 to 150 in the first stage, growing to about 425 by stage 5. And they'll all live reasonably close. There's lots of land to build on here. We're going to make sure there's community housing available. One of our directors is involved in that program already. We have other really good attractions like the pub's just down the road. It's only 2 minutes. People will want to come here and work. We'll have a childcare facility on site, we'll have a cafeteria on site, and we will just make sure that there's a facility for tourism. So once we've got the frozen line fully operational and we're generating a profitable income within 2 years of commencing operations, we can then start with the next stages. So we've got to put the cannery in. Our goal is to produce 400 million cans a year. We've got to put a powder line in. The market for powdered fruit and vegetable products is extraordinary. I was in London not that long ago and it was £5 for 35 grams of powdered beetroot. Like, we can do it for 1/3 that price, and it means we use 100% of the crop. So when a farmer's negotiating his supply contract, it's for everything. And then we've got the methane plant so that we can burn all the green waste in the region to fuel not only our trucks but the factory as well. The good news about this facility being built on this site is that it will produce a product that will either be equal to or better than any imported product. The best example I can think of is tomato paste. The Italians bring millions of those little cans into this country every year. We can produce it and sell it probably for better than they can land it in the port. Tomatoes is a classic example of what's not happening. So we will grow a lot of tomatoes to produce a lot of product. But the issue of price, we've done this research now for over a decade. We can compete against everything. We can still compete even if the Australian dollar became a dollar in the international market. We can still compete. It's all about technology, packaging, and the fact that it's the finest product you can buy anywhere in Australia. So why am I talking to people today? Firstly, we know most people don't have $50,000 minimum to invest in the public company. But we've established a cooperative to meet what we've been told is the truth, that Australians should own this facility producing Australian products for Australians. So to do that, we're saying to people, buy a lifetime share for $1,000. We've got a 4-month payment plan, and by buying that share, you will help fund stage 1, so we're debt-free and we can compete in the world marketplace. And we can be owned by Australians for Australia, which means we can't be sold to another country if the majority owners are Australian through the cooperative. So the message I've got in all the years, we want Australian grown, Australian packed, Australian product with Australian jobs, and more importantly, we want the profit that you make staying in Australia for Australia. So the only way we can do it, you've got to buy a share in the cooperative to ensure that the cooperative owns the majority of our shares. The truth is, if you don't, we'll be owned by overseas interests and we'll have no say.
Lockyer Valley Foods. Fruit and veg products owned, grown and manufactured by Australians for Australians. Join our cooperative on the link below and help save the Aussie fruit and veggie industry.